It's a matter of opinion if I'm right, but I'm leaving no for now to go outside, putting chores and obligations on our pride.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Matter of Opinion. I'm your boy Walls P.
I'm your girl, Erica.
Now, on today's episode, we're going to debate on the students attacking teacher epidemic that's going on all across the nation. Now, what sparked this debate is a viral video that recently surfaced of an incident that happened back in 2018 where Marston Riley, a 65-year-old teacher, was arrested on November 2018 after cell phone video showed a student, a 14-year-old, approaching him, calling him all types of N words, racial slurs, and the whole nine, and threatening him. And basically, a fist fight took place. He was then arrested. Fast forward to now, the charges have been dropped. And that's not the only crazy situation that we've been seeing as far as teachers attack students. You also had the situation in Rockdale, Georgia, at Heritage High School, where a ninth grader attacked the teacher and she wound up with her leg broke. Or another incident of a teacher who was fighting tooth and nails, barricading himself inside a room, and on the other side of the door, a student was trying her hardest to get inside the room to attack somebody. I don't know if it was the teacher, but she definitely had some bad intentions.
Someone help, please.
Go get a security officer now! Now! Hannah! Walter, go in my room! Hannah!
So, with all that being said, my question to you, Erica P, because the way I see it, these teachers need protections. And these are just a few incidents. We're talking about gym teachers trying to break up fights, they get jumped, kids bringing guns to school. One story about, I believe, a 6-year-old that shot a teacher. So it's definitely an epidemic going on. Do you agree with that?
I do agree that there is an epidemic. There are more and more video footage showing teachers being attacked by kids, teachers being attacked by other parents. So I do
So
think it's a problem.
so here's my question. Because clearly in the Mortson Riley situation, he was arrested for putting his hands on a student. Charges were dropped. So my question to you is, with the protections, which clearly isn't working, should teachers be allowed to put their hands on students if they feel like these students are attacking them or threatening them? What is your
Okay.
take?
My take on that is it depends on your school district and the state that you live in. And the reason that I say this is each state has a set guidelines for their school district for what can be done, either it be preschool, elementary school, middle school, or high school. So the teacher themselves need to know what their rights are first, and they need to make sure that they're paying attention because you do have some states like Michigan where teachers take self-defense classes, and any kid from 6th grade up, you could basically use some kind of force. I'm not saying excessive force on a kid, but if the kid is clearly attacking you, somebody has to stop it. So either the teacher's going to have to stop it, a safety officer is going to have to stop it. So yes, in those instances, I do feel that teachers should be able to diffuse the situation. But there's also a thin line between that too, because if a kid is clearly punching you, squaring up, you getting jumped by 4 or 5 kids, am I telling the teacher to just start hooking off? No, because you're an adult. Because now on the flip side is you do have to worry about getting arrested because anytime the teacher becomes the aggressor in a circumstance, they're going to be held more liable than the child is. So that in itself will open up a whole nother can of worms. But now you have other states where, like Massachusetts, no. A teacher cannot put their hands on a kid, but what the teacher can do after the incident happens is they could sue. They could sue the kid's parents for the child's actions, especially if it results in the teacher being physically harmed, broken bones, anything. That kid and that kid's parent is going to be held liable. So that's why for teachers, I do think a lot of them are really not taking up with abuse anymore. You have more and more teachers that are not signing up for some of these schools. You have more and more school districts who have laws on the books and they're not following them. So then it's the teachers ultimately paying the price for policies and procedures not being followed.
For me, I have to disagree with you that in some situations it should be allowed. In a situation of kids being disrespectful all up in your face, pushing you the whole nine, because a lot of these kids, they feel like there can be no repercussions. So that's why they do what they do. I remember growing up in school, hell, I was afraid of a lot of my teachers because they would hem you up quick, fast, in a hurry. They wouldn't beat you down or nothing like that, but they definitely would hem you up and make sure you respect them and stop acting up. You don't get that nowadays. Like the video that we did where the students were jumping the little girl and then she went outside and was brandishing a gun or whatever. And nobody actually stopped to break it up. Why? Because if they step in, they wind up could get charges for putting their hands on a student, even to break up a fight. So to me, that's ridiculous. Self-defense when it comes to these teachers and these students, there shouldn't be no criminal charges whatsoever when it comes to that. If you're old enough or you feel you're old enough to make grown folks decisions and put your hands on somebody, then especially a teacher, an adult, then that person should have the right to defend themselves from you because at this point now you're committing a crime. And on top of that, you're seeing these kids have little to no respect when it comes to adult figures, people older than them. And the way I see it, if it starts when you're young, that's going to continue as you get older. The crime now is freaking through the roof. And it starts with a lot of these young cats that are doing these crimes. Then you have laws in place where if these kids commit crimes, whatever, it's a misdemeanor. They won't be charged as an adult. That's incentivizing them. Hey, if I act up, guess what? I'm not going to really get in trouble. So if you have that code of conduct and now you take that same mentality of thinking you're untouchable and you go to school, if the parents ain't correcting them at home, doing the steps or taking the necessary steps to make sure that these children aren't going out and acting a fool, especially at school and out in public, that's going to transfer over to the school. And guess who has to suffer? The teachers. And if the teachers can't defend themselves, like how the one teacher wind up with a broken leg, these good teachers who actually do a good job teaching these students, you're going to run them out of the school system. You're going to run them out of that type of field to basically help these children learn, be educated, so that in the future they can contribute to society. So I believe that teachers should be able to defend themselves. We have protections for cops. If a child is abusing a cop, punching them, or whatever the case, being violent, that cop can turn around and use some type of force to detain the child or to protect himself. So why can't these teachers and educators get these same protections? And clearly, it looks like we're taking a step in the right path if this gentleman did what he did and the charges were dropped. So I'm 100% for teachers being able to defend themselves.
I get what you're saying, but you also have to remember not all people are trained to defend. So if you're in a school district that doesn't provide the teachers with a self defense class, how are you defending yourself against these kids? Because now that's questionable what kind of force. So that means if you're in the school, maybe that's something that every school district needs to have in place. Because you have some schools, their law is you have to call the safety officer or the school police officer that's on duty. So it
But
really
but
depends on where you're at.
but check this out though. these kids, they're not getting training when it comes to attacking these teachers, breaking their legs and doing whatever. So why would this person need training to defend themselves from a child?
Because you have
That
to
makes no
know the
sense.
law, because that teacher has to know what they can and can't do. Teachers have rights, but
But I'm not
teachers
but I'm
unions.
not but I'm not talking about what they can and can't do. I understand there's laws and stuff where it's things you can and can't do. I'm talking about if a child is in your face, pushing you the whole nine, attacking you, slapping you, yada yada. A lot of these teachers don't defend themselves because they're afraid of the blowback or the criminal charges that could be pending on them.
Correct, but it's
But I guarantee you that teacher don't need no classes to defend themselves from this student.
like I said, every state has a different rule. Every school district, I'm starting to notice, has their own set of guidelines. So it's really up to the teacher to know what school district they're in and to know what rights they have. Like I said, looking this up, some school districts, yes, there are no safety officers. So what they did is they went in and trained every single one of their teachers. So they have to be trained in diffusing an attack from a student. They have to be trained in diffusing attacks from students on students. They have to be trained on in the event that a parent comes to school and attacks a teacher. What do you do? If your school district is not one of those districts that are progressive and teaching you this type of stuff, what do you do? What about the school districts, that had no remember you had some schools that didn't even have the safety drills for active shooters. Like, if you not in an area that train for that, what are you supposed to do? These are contingency plans that these schools need to have.
I
So
still don't
yes,
see
I
where
agree
you
with
need
you.
training for a person that's attacking you, a student that's attacked. I don't see no type of training if a student is attacking me or whatever the case may be, and I got to defend myself. If they start wilding out, swinging, attacking the whole nine, because let's face it, once they put their hands on you and they see that there's no retaliation, it's going to continue, especially with other students sitting there hyping it up. Oh, 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 that's how. If you look at these videos, that's how things escalated. The student
Cor-
hit the teacher. Oh, oh, everybody's inciting it, and the student keep going on and on. I don't need no training to de-escalate at that point. Now it's are you gonna catch these hands? You're gonna F around and find
cor-
out.
Correct, but then you also don't know what the rule is for that school, because think about it. If a teacher gets attacked, it's basically the kid is supposed to get expelled. If you fight, you're supposed to either get suspended or you're supposed to get expelled. But if all you did was threaten, guess what? It's up to the teachers to report that stuff too. Because my thing is, you have to let somebody know this is what's going on. If the kid just come in one day and square off and punch you, that's something completely different. But a lot of these times, these situations have been excited one way or another. Yes, by the people in the class, by the teacher themselves, by the other student. And like I said, depending on the school district and depending on what state you're in, the laws are completely different. You have some schools that are zero tolerance. The minute that kid picked their
Yeah,
hands up to hit them, the kid is gone. So you
yeah,
already know
but
you
that
was going to be gone.
I don't believe that's true because we see now with even bullying cases, whatever, and students are bullying other students, whatnot, and it's being reported. 9 times out of 10, the schools drag their feet where it's steps and procedures that gotta come into place. Then you have an irate student that's mad at the teacher for going up reporting them, the whole nine. So now you have an even more irate student in that classroom. So now everything is basically in the kid's favor to pop off on you because they know there's not going to be no repercussions as far as criminal charges, and they know in the back of their mind this teacher cannot put their hands on me, so I could get away with whatever. I could punch him, whatever the case may be. If you look at that video with the teacher that got her leg broke, that girl was attacking her and she's trying to back up, diffuse the situation, walk away, the whole nine, and she wind up with a broken leg.
Correct. But I
So
also
if she
feel
was
like,
able to defend herself, I guarantee you she wouldn't have had a broken leg.
yeah, but if she defended yourself, you don't know what kind of harm she would have put that student in either. And that's another thing. People's emotions also take a part when they start defending themselves. So at what point does the teacher stop? That's
At
the
what
other
point
thing.
at what point should the student stop where now I got a broken leg?
And like I said, I wholeheartedly understand those circumstances too. I need to know where's the resources at. Where was the safety officer when this all happened? Where's the class intercom systems? I
Erica,
don't know. I,
Erica,
I don't work in
Erica,
school districts, so I don't
Erica,
know what other protocols these
Erica,
teachers have in place to feel
Erica,
safe. But yes, something
Erica.
needs to give on both ends.
If that student that broke that teacher's leg, if she was if that teacher would have retaliated and chipped her up where she hit her one good time and it was a awakening moment, or she would have swung her to the ground or something, and that student would have saw, yo, this teacher is not going to let me walk over her, I guarantee you the other students would have respect and know not to take it there, because now they're on alert. Yo, we can't disrespect this person. What do you think happens if a person is bullying somebody, right? And all the kids is laughing at the kid being bullied. The minute that kid chip up the person that's bullying them, I guarantee you all the other students is like, yo, we know not to mess with him. Same thing with a teacher. So like, I understand all these protocols and stuff like this, but I guarantee you, if students knew that if they put their hands on the teacher, all bets are off and the teacher could put their hands on the student, I guarantee you a lot of students would think twice about trying to bring that sauce to teachers. It's the fact that they know they could get away with it.
But see, I don't know at what point that these kids are really realistically getting away with it, because we don't know what's happening after these stories. You don't know if charges are being put on these kids. You don't know if once these kids get kicked out of this school, what they're doing next. We don't know. And that's the problem. A lot of times there's no follow up videos to what happens with these kids. Because guess
The
what? If the video is circling around, somebody didn't seen it in higher places at this point.
See, the woman that broke the I said the woman, the little girl that broke the teacher's leg, she's being charged. But here's my thing. If a student attacked me and broke my leg and they're a juvenile, in my mind, there's no repercussions, because even if they got charged, they're charged as a juvenile. By the time they become adult, their record is wiped clean. So in my mind, you won. So I understand you're saying, hey, we don't know what's up with the follow-ups, this, that, and the third. But to that victim, that student won. And that's something that will push that good teacher, especially if they're a good teacher, out of that career. So I wholeheartedly feel the teacher should be allowed to defend themselves the minute a student put their hands on them.
Like I said, I know in some states they can, but it's not everywhere. And that's the other thing. It's like you have federal
Mhm.
guidelines that these teachers have to follow, but you also got state guidelines, and then you also have different school district guidelines, and that's on top of, is it a private school? Is it a public school? Is it a charter school? Because guess what? There's a whole nother set of rules there too. I feel like there's a lot of rules, but who's really reinforcing the rules to go with it? Because on a federal level, who's really overseeing these things? On a state level, you might get a little bit more people regulating a little bit better, especially if you part of, depending on what teachers union you in. Because remember, there's a few different teachers unions out there too. You got some that go, hey, protocol is you have to notify us within 24 hours of the incident happening. And with in the case that the guy's stuff got dropped, I guarantee they probably went through everything, but I don't think that stuff is quick, swift, and in a hurry either. You talking that was something from 2018.
See, that's the thing. It was in 2018. The charges were dropped in 2019. It's just that the video surfaced now and it's been going viral.
Okay.
So it then take a long drawn out process. That's what, a year, less than a year that the
But
charge. Matter of fact, he was charged in November, and by October of 2019, the charges were dropped.
yeah, but think about that. That's almost a year too. That's
But
almost a year
still,
that but think about it. That's almost a year that you hadn't been teaching. You don't know when they came out if he was able to go back to his job and still collect income. Those are all factors people don't always know either. So
Yeah,
yes,
but
she
if
might have
you
dropped the charges, but does that mean I can get my job back? Does that mean I
but
even want that job back?
yeah, but that's why I said they should set it up where these teachers have the right to defend themselves. And if there's anything that shows that a precedence should be set, it would be that case right there. That's my opinion on it.
But you also have to think about it too. What if my teacher is 6'10", 250 pounds, and the person that's attacking them is 5'2" at 140 pounds?
Why would you go attacking a teacher that has that much height and weight on
I
you?
don't I don't
If
know.
there's a law in place saying that you put your hands on these teachers, they get the right to put their hands back on you. I guarantee you they'll think twice about it. Especially if you're talking about somebody who's 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds, and this person is 5'2", a buck 50, whatever. Like,
But
come on.
think about it. You have to think about those kind of cases too, because you do have some cases that are outliers, and then you also have some cases that are to the extreme. And the problem is when you choose to be a teacher, you basically have to play the middle person sometimes because you
Here's my
want to protect the kids, but then it's like you also want to protect yourself from the kids who act like they're above the rules and above the law.
here's my thing. I would rather, if my kid is acting up, is a loose cannon, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with him. I would rather the teacher check him than law enforcement check him where he can possibly lose his life or wind up in jail. If you're asking me, the small price to pay is this teacher check him and I'll put him on the straight and narrow as opposed to him losing his life or serving X amount of time behind bars. I'll gladly take the teacher checking him
And I get that.
1000%.
But guess what? A lot of times these schools and these teachers don't have the resources. So it's easier for them to label the kid as a bad kid. It's easier to do that because then guess what? Once I label you that, I don't have to do nothing else. I don't have to help you cope. I don't have to create a plan if this parent isn't advocating for you. And that's the other thing. It's like, what do you do in those instances? Nobody's helping the kid that's being the attacker, or maybe it clearly is something mental and we don't know.
There's nothing incentivizing them to actually take those steps to try and help these kids because at the end of the day, they're fighting a losing battle with the way that the laws and everything and protections is set up for the kids and none for the teachers.
The kicker is, I feel like it really depends on who's in play and what protections people want. Because think about it, we vote the school boards in a lot of times. So because we're doing that, we want them to have our best interests at heart. You have a whole slew of people that were like, hey, the old school method wasn't working. We need to do better. But then you have a whole slew of people now going, well, this new method ain't working either. So y'all need to find a better middle ground. And that's the problem. When you have states and school districts that can pick and choose what they want to do, you'll never have everybody on the same accord. But for what may work in rural America may not work in the inner cities. So it's almost you're stuck between a rock and a hard place and figuring out what the balancing act is, especially when a kid being in school is not really that long. You talking you're in school, most people maybe preschool, if not kindergarten to start, because kindergarten is the mandated grade for most areas until 12th grade. After that, there there is nothing else. You do want to help try to create a well-balanced student. You want them to be a progressive and a successful member of their community, but you also want to give them the right tools. And like you said, yes, them attacking teachers is not the right tools. But sometimes we don't even know what's causing these attacks because a lot of times the video is only a snippet. It's not telling you the whole backstory.
It may not be telling you the whole backstory, but for the fact that you put your hands on an adult, that is a problem. I don't care what the backstory is or whatever the case may be. We keep talking about protocols and going through proper channels for the teachers. What about these proper channels and steps for the students? They can go to the principal and speak about the teacher. They can go to the parents and speak about the teacher. And it's much easier to get a teacher removed from the school than a student. But they're not electing to. They're electing to solve it with their fists, basically, or through violence.
Correct. And
So that's why I say let them defend themselves.
I get your point. I really do. But there to me is a thin line between the violence
Don't get it
aspect.
don't get it twisted. I get your points too with the protocols and everything like that and not enough resources, but my thing is when you're being attacked, you're not thinking about resources and protocols. You're thinking about I need to make sure that I'm I'm protected. I don't get hurt bad. I don't hurt myself. That's what's going through your mind when you're being attacked.
Correct.
So I get your points.
But that emotion could also trigger the opposite. What happens when this teacher becomes the aggressor and pummels this kid? Because that could also be the case where it gets to that extreme. And if it gets to that extreme, I need the teacher removed too. I need both the kid and the teacher removed. Because if you don't know how to pull back and stop yourself, that means you don't need to be there either.
That's a very good point that you made on that, where, through emotions, the teacher can wind up snapping. But I honestly think if teachers been showing restraint because they know the repercussions, I think they're smart enough to know if I go overboard, there's going to be repercussions, even though you give me a leash to defend myself. Granted, with every law that you put in place, you're going to find people that slip through the cracks and go overboard. That's just how it is. At the end of the day, I still feel there should be some type of leeway where if a teacher is sitting up here getting pummeled by a student, they can't defend themselves without charges being pressed on them.
Well,
There
and like
should
I
be some
said,
type of leeway.
yeah, like I said, I'm okay with that just as long as that if that's the play, I need them to go to self-defense classes and I need it to be approved by whatever school district or state that they're in.
Okay.
Because if the
I can
teacher
see what you're
does
saying.
everything that you trained them to do, then that should be protecting that teacher. So yes, they're not getting fired. They're not being on suspension for a year without pay while the case is pending. Because think about it. You have some states, you're probably going to have a lot more cases than others. And that means
See,
there needs to be some kind of quick justice to try to get everything that's happening to make sure that you're not sitting a year or two twiddling your thumbs, waiting to see what's going to happen.
after having this back and forth conversation, I can agree with you with the training thing, because with the training, it would minimize to some percentage of teachers not going overboard and actually pummeling the kid to the point where they got to be hospitalized or something like that. So I can agree with you on that aspect. So we agree on a lot of things. Some things we may disagree on, but I definitely can give you that.
And then, like I said, I agree with you on the fact of teachers need to be protected. And if there is not a safety officer that can come protect them, then yes, that means you need to train these teachers to be able to protect themselves. Because an
All
attack
right.
is an attack, and sometimes you don't know how large the school is. Maybe it's going to take some time for the person who is trained to get there.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you heard my side, you heard Erica P's side. Let us know what you, ladies and gentlemen, think about the situation. Should teachers be able to defend themselves, or should there be proper training before they could even go that route to even defend themselves? Or do you think things should just be the way that it is now? Let us know what you think in the comment section. We would love to hear your take on it. If it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking that notification bell so that you can be notified for more content like this. If you want to follow us on our other social media platforms, the links are in the description. Like this video, share this video, comment on this video. Again, there's matter of opinion. I'm your boy Walls P.
And I'm your girl, Erica.
And we will catch you, ladies and gentlemen, on the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.
It's a matter of